David Dobrik, Jeff Whit lawsuit is over a stunt that they were filming in Utah that went horribly wrong, and Jeff Whit got incredibly injured because he was being swung around on an excavator, and David Dobrik is alleged to have stopped that suddenly, but inertia being what it is, swung Jeff Whit around and he hit the side of the excavator and collapsed in the side of his skull. Almost lost his eye. He was incredibly injured. That spawned a civil lawsuit between Jeff Whit and David Dobrik. And then that spawned a second civil lawsuit that is newer. So we're going to be talking about the first lawsuit and doing an update on what's going on the first update. And then the first lawsuit. And then we're going to look at the second lawsuit and talk about what's happening in the second lawsuit, because we cover insurance lawsuits here now. I'm legal analyst Emily D. Baker. This is the Quick Bits, where I break down just the main points of the pop culture and entertainment cases I'm currently covering on YouTube and the Emily Show podcast. Let's get into it. Lawsuits ensued. Shockingly, when people are incredibly injured. Here's the other thing that we are dealing with. We are dealing with California, whether or not David Dobrik, whether or not these were employees of David Dobrik's because they were filming with him, whether these were collabs, whether there was actually business structure. There's been a lot of conversation about him and the Vlog Squad and running what was probably a multi-million dollar YouTube channel. I imagine he was making upwards of potentially $1 million a month at his height, and having no safety or protection for those in his videos, not always paying those that were in his videos, being like exposure, stuff like that. But unlike traditional media, traditional filmmakers, he had no protections in place. He had a lot of yes people. So when he was like, do this for the video, they were like, okay. So David Dobrik was sued by Jeff Whit regarding the injury. We're just going to do a quick update of where we are with that. David Dobrik answered that lawsuit back in September of 2022. This lawsuit is still ongoing. We're going to just circle back with the Whit versus Dobrik suit before we get into the other suit. We just saw a Florida response. California allows for general denials. This is the response to the lawsuit. We deny. Nope. And then the affirmative defenses, which is all of the nope. So all of the affirmative defenses that you list, it's basically boilerplate: failure to state a cause, unclean hands, superseding, intervening, competing negligence. If you want to see a good breakdown of contributory negligence and assumption of the risk, Attorney Tom, who's a catastrophic injury attorney or catastrophic injury lawyer, did a really great breakdown of assumption of risk, contributory negligence, and what that looks like in injury cases. I broke it down in the last Dobrik video, unless you guys are deeply interested in assumption of the risk and contributory negligence. I'm not going to get into it too much more today, but again, there could be some apportioning of fault, but the person who's over 51% at fault is generally the one that loses. So this is all of their affirmative defenses. This is boilerplate affirmative defenses. It's literally just holding the place for affirmative defenses. There was much question about whether David Dobrik was represented by Johnny Depp's law firm, Brown Rudnick. No, they are being represented by Friedman and Titleman, LLP. So different attorneys in Los Angeles, not Depp's attorneys in Los Angeles. I know there was a blip for a second on the interwebs. The trial date has been set for next year. It was set for August 4th, 2023, and then it got bumped back. And these are the updated dates. The trial date in this case is currently set for December 19th, 2023, with a final status conference of December 5th, 2023. The parties have conducted discovery, but certain discovery issues remain to be resolved. It's on video. The parties have sought to schedule depositions of plaintiff and defendant, but have been unable to because, among other things, parties would like to resolve all key discovery issues prior to the depositions. It sounds like they're all like, we need more stuff. One of defendant's key counsel is unavailable as she will be on maternity leave during the current time. Sorry. At the DA's office, they'd be like, give it to another DA. The parties have met and conferred and cooperated as to deadlines and discovery. The parties seek a trial continuance to allow plaintiffs and defendants to resolve discovery. Defendants intend on pursuing dispositive motions once discovery is done. which means summary judgment. The parties have not previously asked for a continuance. The trial date is set for the 19th, status for the 5th. Please continue, and the court granted that. So this has been continued to when? I do not know. There are no dates. This is not done with discovery, but there is now a second lawsuit involved. So what's going on with Jeff Whittick versus David Dobrik? Discovery. They're in discovery. And then we will get to motions. When we get to summary judgment motions, we will go through those. They're going to have a lot more of the facts discovered after depositions. That's going to be probably 4 months out, maybe more. So let's look at the other lawsuit, shall we? So David Dobrik has been sued again, but it's not just David Dobrik being sued. Jeff Whittick is also being sued. So State Farm, like a good neighbor, is suing David Dobrik, David Dobrik's company, and Jeff Whittick and Dirt Gear Company, LLC. Dirt Gear's been removed from the lawsuit already. Pay no mind to them. The basis is plaintiff, State Farm, issued a homeowner's policy to David Dobrik as the named insured. The homeowner's policy was in effect for the period from April 5th, 2020 through April 5th, 2021, and then they attached it. Plaintiff is obligated under the homeowner's policy to pay up to the limit of liability for damages for which the insured is legally liable if a claim is made or a suit is brought against the insured because of bodily injury or property damage caused by an occurrence to which the coverage applies. And then they define bodily injury. Jeff was injured. They define occurrences of property damage. All bodily and property damage resulting from one accident, series of related accidents, or from continuous and repeated exposure to the same general conditions are considered one occurrence. This generally covers things like, I don't know, somebody coming to fix something at your house and falling off a ladder, or somebody tripping on your rug and falling down your stairs or whatever. Those are the types of circumstances, though, that can extend beyond that. The policy has exclusions. Bodily injury or property damage arising out of business pursuits of any assured or the rental or holding for rental of any part of the premises by the insured, this exclusion does not apply to activities which are ordinarily incident to non-business pursuits. So there is a business exclusion for this homeowner's policy. Plaintiff has also issued a personal liability umbrella policy. So there's two policies, homeowners and umbrella. You need business insurance if you are running a business. Plaintiff has also issued a personal liability umbrella insurance policy, and David Dobrik is named the insured. It was issued in 2018. It extended through 2020. It's attached below. Plaintiff, State Farm, is obligated under the insurance policy to pay on behalf of the insured Dobrik the damages that exceed the retained limit if a claim is made or a suit is brought against the insured for damages because of a loss for which the insured is legally liable and to which the policy applies. That includes umbrella for bodily injury. But again, when we're defining business, what do we think there is an exclusion for? There was no coverage under this policy for any loss arising out of insured's business property or business pursuits of any insured. What was David Dobrik's business? Making YouTube videos. What was he doing filming swinging Jeff around on heavy machinery? Making YouTube videos. On June 21st, 2022, Jeff Whittick filed the case that we were just talking about. The complaint is cast in one cause of action for general negligence. The complaint alleges that Dobrik rented an excavator from Dirt Gear Co. Dobrik allegedly was provided no training or instruction on how to use the excavator. Dobrik allegedly was not advised as to safety features. The excavator was taken to a Utah lake in Provo, Utah. Dobrik had planned his social media comeback and had solicited the help of several collaborators and independent contractors, including Jeff Whittick. So this suit is alleging that they are independent contractors. We will see. I think the state of California would take exception to that because they consider almost everybody an employee, and the law changed before 2020. The plan was to have Dobrik drive the excavator and have several people swing from the excavator with various accessories such as wakeboards. So people had been like on the lake swinging around. David Dobrik allegedly began soliciting people to get on the excavator solely using a rope and swinging around on the excavator. Bigger, more drama, more intrigue. Y'all, wakeboarding is boring as fuck. Let's make it, I don't know, more dangerous. Several individuals tried this. People indicated that Dobrik was doing this unsafely. After the warning, Whittick was tasked by Dobrik with getting on the rope. Dobrik allegedly noticeably slowed the excavator down too quickly. I mean, it stopped abruptly. I've seen the video. Due to the alleged negligence of Dobrik. Whit allegedly suffered injuries. I understand that State Farm's lawyers are lawyering. However, Whit was injured. Defendant David Dobrik and Dobrik LLC tendered their defense in the underlying action to plaintiff. So Dobrik took this lawsuit. Look, lawyers are lawyering because the lawyers in this case are like, we don't have personal knowledge of this. Like, just because it's on the internet, we don't have knowledge of this. We haven't done discovery. They are lawyering ethically. But Dobrik took that lawsuit to his insurance company and was like, you got me? Because, like, you need to defend me. This is a lawsuit for negligence. That's what my insurance policies are for. The same way that Amber Heard said, hey, I'm personally being sued for defamation. I have a policy that includes that. Are you defending my lawsuit? And then her insurance company defended the lawsuits. Now, those insurance companies are all fighting with her and themselves because she was found liable, but that's a whole separate issue. So Dobrik went to his insurance company and was like, you got me? So Dobrik tendered their defense in the underlying action to plaintiff pursuant to the homeowner's policy and personal liability umbrella policy. Plaintiff agreed to provide a defense to defendant Dobrik, subject to a reservation of rights based upon the provisions of the policies referred to above. Plaintiff State Farm contends that the loss is excluded. We don't have to cover you because it arises out of the business pursuits of State Farm's insured. State Farm is saying our policy excludes business activity. How the fuck is this not a business activity? Were there ever any criminal charges? No. Could there have been? Possibly. Were there? No. So is this a business activity? Filming a YouTube video comeback for your YouTube channel when you're a YouTuber? I think they have a strong argument to the affirmative. I don't think this is Dobrik making like a video yearbook of him and his friends. Plaintiff contends that the loss is excluded because it arises out of the business pursuit of the insured Dobrik. In addition, plaintiff contends the loss is excluded because Whit is a person eligible to receive benefits under workers' comp. So they're telling Whit, you need to go do workers' comp. I don't know what workers' comp will say. Workers' comp is going to be like, are you really an employee? At some point, the state governing bodies are going to get into this and be like, he's an employee. Could Dobrik then get hit with failure to pay payroll taxes and stuff? Could happen. I'm sure he's had those discussions with his attorney. Because if Jeff files under workers' comp, Jeff has to go through all the hoops of workers' comp, which suck. Anyone who's been through workers' comp, is that easy for you? No. No, it's not. Therefore, the exclusions cited above preclude coverage for any eventual judgment or settlement. So State Farm is asking for a declaratory judgment. Remember, declaratory relief is literally asking the court to declare. I do declare. They're asking the court to order a ruling on the facts. Court, tell us that we don't have to pay because this is a business activity. Legally determined that this is a business activity. Our policy excludes business activities and we don't have to pay. We need you to rule that. They're not seeking monetary recompense. They are seeking an order saying, yes, State Farm, you do not have to defend this lawsuit that Dobrik is going through. You don't have to pay for the lawyers. You don't have to pay for the judgment. This is similar to what's going on with the Amber Heard action, but this is earlier in the proceedings. State Farm is saying, tell us that we're out of this shit. Tell us that we're out. Tell us that we're out. So they have filed it saying we are out. Plaintiff contends that it is not obligated under the homeowner's policy or personal liability umbrella policy to indemnify any defendant for liability, damages, judgment, settlement, or recovery for punitive damages, which means State Farm is not going to pay Whit, policy limits or whatever, to make this suit go away. Dobrik is going to have to pay out of his pocket to deal with this. Each defendant denies the contentions of plaintiff. The defendants contend that plaintiff is obligated to indemnify each defendant for some liability, damages, judgment, settlement, and recovery. And State Farm is saying, we disagree. So we need the court to decide. So they are now, all the policies are then attached. So State Farm is now in a lawsuit with Dobrik saying, you need to pay this out of pocket. And Whit needs to go to workers' comp. That is going to be an entire morass of state wrangling. So, is Dobrik trying to avoid just settling this with Whit out of pocket? I don't know. Did Dobrik say, hey, we'll just settle this for policy limits, submit it to insurance. Yeah, well, you don't have the insurance that Alec Murdaugh had. Alec Murdaugh's insurance was like, fuck, man, this dude is going to go to trial and be like, it's all my dog's fault and we need to pay limits. State Farm is like, no, no, ma'am, no, ma'am. You have a personal liability insurance. And you know what you weren't doing? Personal shit. You were doing work shit. So you should have had a business umbrella policy. And if any content creators take anything away from today, talk to whoever you talk to about your insurance, about business policies as well, to cover business activities. Because your personal life and your business life, even if you are filming it, if you are filming your personal life and it becomes business life, you might need different insurance. So with all of that, Dobrik is being sued. State Farm's like, we're not paying for this shit. Like, are you fucking kidding me? You were swinging a dude around on an excavator. How is that covered by your homeowner? No. Nope. I think we are not going to see a settlement in the Whit Dobrik case until this case is resolved. So I think these two cases are now going to play off of one another and slow down any potential recovery. For deep dives into the stories that I covered here, you can find them on my YouTube channel at The Emily D. Baker and The Emily Show podcast. I stream every Tuesday and Thursday. The podcast goes live on Wednesdays. And if you want to stay in the loop with everything I'm doing, receive the fastest notifications out there, and get more Law Nerd community, join me at lawnerdapp.com, our free app for iOS and Android.